Hello everyone, this is Rexer of the YouTube channel NotQuiteThereGaming, and welcome to another cookie cutter edition of my Visionary Advice Guide series. This one is also going to be a casual little guide because I'm not that far into Diablo 3 to be making any sort of high level stuff. Also because your success really depends on what items you find. Can't really get that deep into builds unless we subject ourselves to some really wishful thinking. Now, my gear score isn't that bad, but I cannibalized a lot of my equipment to send to my witch doctor, which broke a lot of synergies and ended up making them both a little bit worse off for the trade. But I wanted to play him as my main, and that's the way things are. Anyway, moving right along from items, I wanted to share my skill setup. Now, right off the bat, you're gonna see that we have some really common choices and some uncommon choices as well. Starting with the common. Arcane Orb with the Frozen Orb rune. Frozen Orb is allegedly supremely overpowered, so there's no reason why not to pick it. It does really good area of effect damage, and it's not that bad against single targets as well. It just eats up your arcane power really fast. It might benefit from a slower weapon to eat up the arcane power slower, but that's up to you. We're not talking itemization here. On my right click I have Black Hole with Absolute Zero. Absolute Zero boosts my cold damage depending on how many targets it hits with the damage component. And this can get really out of hand when you have those packs of little cannon fodder enemies roaming around. It's very useful. It's also very useful as a crowd controlling skill, but it and Arcane Orb are in my setup because they synergize very nicely with one other skill that I have, which we will get to in just a second. My main defensive skill is Slow Time with the Point of No Return rune that stuns enemies for 3 seconds when they enter or exit the slow time area. It's a very nice defensive skill because of the stun. Of course, it takes a while to get to the stun, sadly, but also because of the sheer havoc it wreaks on enemy projectiles. It almost makes them completely worthless, takes them completely out of the picture, except for some specific projectiles like mortars, which aren't affected at all. The slow and attacks, the movement speed and attack speed debuffs are also very useful defensively. But I was saying that Arcane Orb, Black Hole, and Slow Time synergize very nicely with one other skill I have in my setup, and that is Mirror Image with the Duplicates rune. That gives you a total of 4 illusionary duplicates for just 7 seconds, but trust me, it's really worth it. When you cast your pretty little mirror images, each of them will, if in range of an enemy, immediately spring into action. They will cast slow time bubbles of their own, and they will cast black holes of their own, and spam Arcane Orb as much as they possibly can in their short little 7-second lifespans. Now, with each of them doing 10% of my own damage, that means that I have a 7-second burst of 40% extra damage. Not to mention the extra crowd control I get from them casting black holes, and the extra defensive net that they cast because they cast slow time. So you get a nice widespread net of slow time with point of no return, proccing on every time an enemy enters or exits any of the resulting 5 bubbles, one for yourself and one for each of your mirror images. But also you get an immediate stun for about 2 seconds from each mirror image that decides to cast black hole. Sometimes they're staggered, sometimes they roll at the same time, but that is also a very nice perk of casting mirror image with black hole equipped. Arcane Orb is sadly right now superior to Disintegrate, which is another of my favorite skills for Wizard, because mirror images don't seem to like casting beam spells. I don't know if it's like hard-coded that they just don't cast or those kind of skills, or if it's buggy or something, but Arcane Orb really works well with mirror images. Black Hole works really well with mirror images, and Slow Time works really well with mirror images. Magic Weapon, obviously a no-brainer with the Force Weapon rune that gives you a 20% bonus to overall damage, with a slight 2% chance to knock back enemies on hit, but I almost never see that proccing. I've never seen that proccing. Well, whatever. Now, the other weird choice in this build is I chose to use Archon. Archon isn't what it used to be. You can't sustain it forever, but it's a really nice skill to have. The alternative, the damage boosting, hands down better by some skill, would be familiar with perhaps the Spark Flint rune. Gives you a nice big damage boost, and if you want to rely on your skills and whatever else you have, then surely that is a good choice. It's also insanely boring, even with the extra damage that the familiar itself does and the 10% damage boost to yourself. It's so boring. I don't want to sound like a little kid that isn't having fun, but this is a game and I want to have fun. So instead of going with the stat-focused spreadsheet version of what fun should be like because the numbers say so, we are going to be slotting Archon with the Arcane Destruction rune. Why? Well, Archon isn't what it used to be. You can't sustain it indefinitely, but each enemy killed while in Archon form increases your damage by 6% for the remaining duration of Archon. I would like to tell you how much damage per second I had when I had 91 stacks of this, but I just couldn't open my inventory fast enough before it expired. It was a massacre though, and against elites or against wave focused missions, Archon cannot be beaten for sheer enjoyment value. Also, that initial explosion from Arcane Destruction usually nets you a nice opening bonus to your damage. Even if you don't have arcane damage boosting gear, if you know what situations to look for to trigger Archon, you will be swimming in damage per second. And it's a lot of fun, like I said, so please consider using Archon. Passive wise, we have Glass Cannon, because of course we have Unwavering Will, because I prefer to just sit somewhere safe once a serious fight starts and just unload my entire arcane power pool worth of frozen orbs at an enemy. And this works well with that. We have Cold-Blooded for extra cold damage, and we have Galvanizing Ward for defensive value. Galvanizing Ward doesn't give you that much of a buffer compared to some health values, but the fact that it regenerates on its own if you don't get hit for 5 seconds can really mean the difference between life and death in some situations, so I really like having it. Yep, now without further ado, because I've already talked way too much, let's hire my Templar and let's see if I can make a good impression in the Defiled Crypt on the event that I found in Adventure Mode. This is the Jar of Souls. So, keep in mind, Frozen Orb uses arcane power really fast, but with Archon, once you have used your arcane power and you see a situation where Archon could be useful, you can go into Archon mode and just tear everything to shreds. So let's see if we can make that happen.
I don't believe it. A trap.
Oh no, a trap. I did not see that coming. Come on. Slowpokes. You shouldn't feel guilty about using mirror images as fast as possible. They do damage without costing you arcane power, and they cycle back pretty fast, so...
I don't have enough arcane power.
Yep. You know what? Let's do this. The downside is that while it helps you defensively to have
Need more time.
time warps, when you're triggering Archon, you want your enemies to be close to you in order to be able to do the one button area of effect burst around yourself and do the damage from your right click or left click. So perhaps not the best execution I could have asked for. I will try to find you a better one.
If only they could see me now. Need more arcane power. Your grave awaits! Need more time. Not ready. I am so good. I astound myself. Need more arcane power. Need more time. Your grave awaits! Still waiting. Your defenses need more time. Nothing.
this has been it for my relatively brief guide of a cookie cutter wizard build. Thank you very much for watching. Special thanks to everyone who stuck through the entire video. If you've enjoyed this video or found it informative, please remember to subscribe for more. If you have the time, please take a few moments to comment, thumbs up, or share if you feel the video is worth it. It really helps my channel grow. This has been it from me. This has been Rexer of the YouTube channel NotQuiteThereGaming, signing off.